Hapless teenagers beset by demons in the woods. A strange new drug that turns art into murder. A can't beat a deal on a new house with a horrifying past. A video game that might usher in the apocalypse. From the demented mind of Sean C. Baker, author of A Collection of Desires, Shadow Play, and Murder Virus, comes Volume 4, collecting Baker's no-sleep work along with several never-before-published short stories. This 99-cent volume also includes the opening chapter of the author's forthcoming teenage giallo novel, Black Gloves and Broken Hearts, due out later this year.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horror Vision Horror Podcast. My name is Sean, and I live in apartment 7B.
I'm Missy, and I live in apartment 7C.
And man, those people in apartment 7A, what the fuck is going on? Satan, 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 all night long. God damn, man.
Hail Satan?
I mean, even the Dark Lord's got to be like, can you keep it fucking down? So, if you haven't guessed, we're here to talk about the Rosemary, the Rosemary's Baby prequel, Apartment 7A, that just hit Paramount Plus yesterday. We're recording this on September 28th. It hit Friday, September 27th. And I would not have been interested in this movie at all because it gave me shades of The First Omen, which I didn't care for. We reviewed that at some point on the show. I know, Missy, you were more forgiving.
First Omen, I didn't think was a bad one. I mean, Catholic horror is mood dependent on me, but I like the original Omen movie at least.
I mean, so I feel like we are now going to get this rash of these prequel movies to these, iconic 70s horror movies.
Not even just 70s, because I mean, they did that prequel of The Strangers, and that didn't need to exist.
I mean, The Strangers, so they moved into apartment 7G.
Right?
So we'll leave them there. But so for 7A, this is directed, it's written partially by Natalie Erica James, along with Christian White, Skylar James, and based on the novel Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. And directed by Natalie Erica James. And so if people recognize that name or don't recognize the name, in 2020, she did a movie called Relic. Now, this is not to be confused with the Relic from the 90s. This is basically like a mother and daughter drive out to where their ailing, memory-losing grandmother lives. And it's a weird movie. I watched it when it came out. I liked it. I haven't seen it since. I know it's currently on Shudder, so I added it to my list recently. I did like that movie. So she is largely responsible for 7A. Oh, let me also just real quick mention what did get my attention, why I wanted to watch this movie, was Natalie Erica James, but more so Julia Garner is the lead. And people will know her as Ruth from Ozark. And I just think she is a fucking incredible actress. And she proved it here. She was fucking great in this movie. And so, yeah, so that was where I was coming from. Missy, how did you feel about Apartment 7A?
All right. I knew nothing about it until you messaged me yesterday, hey, this is coming out. Why don't we check it out? I love the original Rosemary's Baby. I love it. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the few genuinely scary movies out there, and it gets me every time. I rewatched it again right after watching 7A, and this slow burn movie from 1968 still creeps the fuck out of me. So I'm like, okay, I'll try this. Why not? Um, I think it's a passable prequel, but it doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
It wasn't terrible. I was engaged enough to finish it. Um, I mean, it's a decent enough time waster, but it didn't need to exist. It doesn't like does not even remotely capture the dread that you feel from Rosemary's Baby. In fact, it because the leading actress is a dancer in the story, it kind of flip flops between trying to be in the vein of Rosemary's Baby and then being this Broadway musical thing where it has these weird musical numbers that flat out kill any tension or dread that the movie starts to build. In fact, and it takes so long for it to get rolling. Like I watched about a half an hour of it before I messaged you because for a moment, I wasn't sure that I was watching the right thing because it's like, wait, this is a prequel to Rosemary's Baby because right now I'm watching some weird freaking musical number of some Broadway musical, and I can't freaking stand musicals. After that, it did kind of fall into that Rosemary's Baby vibe, like, and it hits a lot of the same beats as um as Rosemary. Like its whole premise is Rosemary wasn't the first, and they start doing the same things to the Terry character that they did to Rosemary, except that you know it's coming because it's the same stuff that happened in Rosemary, and then when they do have a creepy moment, they kill it with some kind of weird Broadway song. The performances were good. For me, the best part of the movie was Diane Wiest.
I know. Far. I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that. She was great.
She nailed it. She's the reason I watched the whole thing, and every time she was on screen, she's a fucking delight. She plays the Minnie Castevet character, the crazy neighbor that we deal with her in Rosemary's Baby. I didn't recognize her at first. The way they've got her all done up and everything. Yeah. I didn't recognize her, but her voice, I'm like, no, that's her. That's her. And I looked her up, and it was. She's outstanding. She's charming. She's terrifying. She's nosy. She nails it. And she is reason alone to watch it. Like she got me through it.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think it's fine. It's another fine prequel that doesn't need to exist. But if you're curious, you like Rosemary's Baby, and you just want to check it out, it's on Paramount Plus. It's not terrible. I didn't walk away from it going, "What the hell, Sean? Like this was a total, I want my 90 minutes back." It wasn't like that. And again, Diane Wiest was really fun to watch. But otherwise, it's fine. Watch Rosemary's Baby. That movie's fucking amazing, and it still holds up all these years later.
I feel the same. I haven't rewatched Rosemary's Baby. I was going to before we did this, but I just didn't. Last night, I just didn't have time. I was exhausted when this movie ended. So, but it is one of the things I think about Rosemary's Baby. So first of all, obviously, in Rosemary's Baby, you don't know the extent of the cabal and the agenda, right? So the end is truly shocking.
Yes.
From this, the minute you see the neighbors, it's like, oh, Satanists, nice old lady, Satanist, like you already know.
And it's the same characters. Like Minnie and Roman Castevet are the same main antagonists in Rosemary's Baby. So, I mean, you know who they are.
So it doesn't have that going for it. I did agree that the musical, like the opening musical number was fine because it sets up the fact that she breaks her foot And that effect was like, oh God, it was so hard to watch. Like it was like that. It was like the diving board scene in Yellow Jackets. I was just like, oh God, ugh.
Oh, see, I was thinking it gave me the cringe like in Yellow Jackets, the leg break. That one gets me every fucking time.
So the opening musical number was fine, but then there was the one where she was in Alan the show
Yeah.
guy's apartment, and it when she was drugged, and it just like became the and it did kind of. But also there's no guess. We know everything that's going to happen basically. So part of the thing about Rosemary's Baby is like you don't know the full extent of who's involved and what's
Mm-hmm.
going on and whatnot. So this had that stacked against it. I would imagine. I think that the director and the actors, I think everybody there understood that and they did what was best. But ultimately, Paramount wanted this movie made, and everybody was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'll take the paycheck that this is going to give me
Mm-hmm.
because why wouldn't I? And I'll do the best I can." But I think probably to some degree, everybody realized it was not going to be amazing. Um, the performances were all very good. There was no weak spots. I really like Julia Garner. And just the thing with her is, and I know you haven't seen Ozark, Ruth is such a singular character. She doesn't look like anybody else. She doesn't act like anybody else. She doesn't talk like anybody else. So whenever I see her and she's not Ruth, and in fact I don't see Ruth when I look at her. I'm just blown away because I'm like, God damn, I thought that she was going to be Ruth forever in my mind.
Okay.
Um, so I thought she did a really good job. I mean, Kirsten kept saying she's like, I don't buy her as a dancer at all. Not because of the dance moves. I felt like they limited what they showed, and I'm sure there was use of like a stunt or like a body double at some points for some of the maneuvers, like in the opening.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, it just Rosemary's Baby. I think another thing with Rosemary's Baby is I think there's an added creep factor that's invisible in that, there's like those stories about how uh what I'm sorry, what's the actress in Rosemary's Baby? I can't believe I can't think of her name.
Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow.
So she was with Sinatra at the time, and Sinatra would like hang around the set, and I think he might have gotten in Polanski's face a couple times. And I don't think Sinatra was a very good guy, especially not if you were his woman. And so I think there's elements of that probably affect the overall mood of the set when they were filming and also her performance. And then also like Roman Polanski's a weirdo too. So, I mean,
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I believe that the Sinatra thing, like I believe it, and like they went through a divorce while they were
yeah,
filming
they
the
did.
movie.
They did.
But
I feel like something I've watched, it might have been Ryan Murphy's first season of Feud, maybe. Something I've watched in the last 3 years had a sequence where somebody was playing Mia Farrow and was on set for Rosemary's Baby. And I forget who played Frank Sinatra. It's the guy from oh, it doesn't matter. He's from *Halt and Catch Fire* and *White House Plumbers*. I can't think of his name, but and he's like just the most antagonistic presence. I can't remember what that was though. I think it was Feud. Anyway, sorry, whatever.
well, and the original is terrifying. Like it starts out feeling very normal, and then it just keeps ramping up the
Yeah.
tension, the paranoia. She's trapped. She's being manipulated. She's getting gaslit by everybody around her. Nobody is listening to her. Nobody believes her. You know, when she does try to reach out to someone, they keep dropping dead in weird ways.
Yep.
Like it's full of dread and you can't escape and everyone's in on it. And then it added to that is, all the creepy pregnancy horror. And then you also like feel bad for her because she really wanted a baby in Rosemary. Like
Yes.
she wants the baby, she wants a family and whatnot. And then so to see her turn from being so happy to being so terrified and in this like it ramps it up and up and up. And that movie is and it plays all its cards right. Because even
Yes.
like again, 1968, I watched it yesterday. it doesn't, when we get to the ending, like you never see the baby, you see the pram, this big
Yes,
ornate,
yes,
a black veiled pram with like satanic upside down crosses and bullshit on it. But you don't see the baby. You see like a flash of yellow eyes, but that's
right.
it. So it still holds up. You can fill in your own, you see what you want to see.
Yes.
And so it doesn't ruin it with a cheesy effect. Your imagination is scarier. In my head I see this wonderful fucking goat baby. um but it's left up to you. So it never blows its load. It's still scary even now.
Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that it still has that much effect on me, like slow burn horror, usually, I mean, there are some good ones, but it's mood dependent. It's not my favorite.
Hmm.
And then anything to do with pregnancy just gives me the heebie jeebies, and it nails everything. People talk about The Exorcist being The Exorcist doesn't scare me, but Rosemary's Baby does.
Oh, that's interesting. I think they share some DNA. I think that like medical horror aspect, like here it's the pregnancy stuff, and there it's the what's wrong with my daughter.
Right.
Uh, I think that they definitely like have a similar thing going on there that helps to really like affect the viewer, like weaken you emotionally,
Hmm.
disturb you before like it really goes like full Satan. Um,
Well, and because this is Rosemary is very subtle and insidious.
yes,
And The Exorcist, well, it has some of that. It has a lot of big practical effects that changed, like innovative effects that changed horror. And
yeah,
I know how a lot of those effects were done. Um, I watched The Exorcist, and it's a monster movie with practical effects,
right,
and so it doesn't hit me that way. But this Rosemary doesn't really have a lot of effects. It's all in
yeah,
your mind and
psychological,
her mind. It's claustrophobic, and that gets me.
yeah. Yeah, this just didn't need to exist. This is again, we're just going to get these movies that are they're prequels, but they're really just remakes. I mean, I appreciate that they're not calling it a remake, even though that's just like it's
And that it's a bit different, but I mean, but yeah, it's just another remake, sequel,
yeah,
prequel. There's a lot of
reboot.
them. They don't need to exist, but it's
Yeah,
on
I mean,
streaming. If you're curious and you have Paramount Plus, you
yeah,
can try it. It's not awful. I mean, I finished it and did not feel like, just it's a slog fest. I wanted to see what happened, but also there is, like, if you watch them back to back, or anybody who knows Rosemary's Baby, we know the Terry Genofrio character. She's in Rosemary's Baby.
is
Rosemary
she?
meets her.
I didn't
She's
even
the
remember that.
In Rosemary's Baby, she's the girl that she meets in the laundry room, and they have a long chat about the neighbors and the Castavets and all these different things. So the continuity doesn't
Oh
work.
shit! Yeah. Okay.
And Rosemary meets her. They have a full, like, it's a 10-15 minute scene where they have this long conversation, and that's what starts putting a bunch of things on her radar.
And then this movie sets up that there was somebody named Joan that lived there before, right? So like,
Yeah,
there'll be another one before, Uh,
but I mean, that's just a blatant continuity error that doesn't work.
I think that's a retcon thing. I think that's what that is.
Okay.
I think they were aware of it and they're just like,
It bothers
yeah.
me.
You know what I will say right off the bat, I was super fucking impressed that, and I would think that a filmmaker would want to do this, but I would think the studio would not want to do this. I was super impressed that they kept it era appropriate and didn't just like make it modern and pretend like Rosemary's Baby
Hmm.
happened. Yeah, I'll just slide it all up so that that happened like 20 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Um,
this was supposed to be 1965
yeah, so
or
I
six.
appreciated that. I also wondered, Kirsten and I both felt like it looked more like TV than a movie. And I wonder if that had something to do with the way it was filmed. And I don't know, I'm not 100% sure about this because I came to this idea, like she mentioned it like halfway through the movie.
Hmm.
And
I think it's the lighting.
I think
I
it's the
think it's the
lighting, but
lighting.
also I think it's the way they shoot it. I think they purposely keep things a little tighter than you normally would.
Okay.
Um,
See, I
just
thought it
to,
was because of the Broadway aspect.
oh, okay.
That's how I took it. I mean, I get exactly what you're talking about, but like it feels like it was lit and more and shot more like a musical or like a
Yeah,
play or some theater.
I could see that. I mean, I also just I felt like there was a noticeable lack of like establishing wide. I mean, there's some, but I don't know. Cinema tends to go wide or bigger as when it can, and I just felt like this was a little bit more compartmentalized. And I that might have just been. I mean, it's not easy to do a period piece nowadays, right? I mean, you're going to shoot the street outside the apartment. You got to line the fucking street with cars from that era. I mean,
Hmm.
dollar signs are the meters running, so to speak. So. I mean, they did. There were scenes where they shot, the exterior and there were cars, but I mean, I just felt like, I don't know, it's something about it felt, and maybe that was a, also intentionally like trying to make it more claustrophobic, but I didn't feel like it worked in that capacity.
It didn't. Yeah, it wasn't claustrophobic. It like I feel like that whole theater aspect to it was kind of through the whole thing, and
Yeah,
it if they were like it killed any tension they could create. I mean, in that sequence, the one you talked about where she's drugged and like
yeah,
dancing and in the apartment, that's when I messaged you and I'm like, wait, what the fuck am I watching? Because there's this weird Broadway number and I don't know what's happening. And then you get that flash where, they kind of do the satanic rape type thing in the same vein as Rosemary, where she's just getting these flashes and she doesn't
yes.
remember, but you get a glimpse of it and it's all like it's like show tunes Satan. It's all sparkly and
Yeah, it was weird. It was a weird choice. It was a weird
I didn't
choice.
like that. That
I didn't really either. I didn't care for
that
that either.
bothered me. But I but shout out to Diane Weist who nailed it.
Yeah, yeah, I
Nailed it.
agree. So it's on Paramount Plus, and I mean, like Missy said, it's if you're interested and you have, I wouldn't sign up for Paramount Plus to watch it
No.
unless you're really a diehard Rosemary's Baby fan, and still, then you might end up pissed off. But
And then
if
you
you
will
have it,
end up
yeah,
pissed
if you
off.
have it
But
and you got an hour and a half to kill, it doesn't overstay its welcome. Well, I mean, I actually kind of thought that it did, but it's an hour and 44 minutes. So it's not like it's, a
okay.
2.5 hour epic, which I feel like
Right.
was probably, it could be in the cards for a movie like this. And luckily they didn't do that. So,
Well, yeah, because
uh,
Rosemary is, I want to say like 2 hours 15.
yeah.
It's a little over.
But it uses all its time
But
well.
it uses it and it does not overstay its
Yeah,
welcome. It
no.
like I don't think I really care about many or any other Roman Polanski films, but in this one in Rosemary's Baby, he did everything right.
Yeah, I like the Tenant quite a bit, although it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I that might be the extent.
I've
I've
never
never
seen that
seen.
one.
He's got the one that I always see mentioned, I think is, I believe it's Revulsion, and it's just always eluded me. Um, and every time, like right now, I'm gonna make a note for myself to try and remember, but I guarantee, I fucking guarantee I won't. I just won't. Oh, Chinatown. I love Chinatown.
I've
But
never seen
that's
that. I
talk
know what
about
it is, but
talk about fucking mood dependent though. That fucking movie is very, very like if if I'm not in the mood for it, I cannot sit still for it. Which
okay.
also Jaws can be like that for me too. If I'm not in the mood for Jaws, I can't
Oh, really?
even
I
attempt it.
can watch
Yeah.
Jaws anytime.
But with Chinatown, yeah, I 100% have got to be in the fucking mood or it's just going to be
Okay.
a disaster.
Well, that's another funny thing that I read. because I was doing notes for 7A and Rosemary and whatnot. Jack Nicholson auditioned for the role of
Oh,
the
that's
husband,
interesting.
Mia Farrow's husband in Rosemary. Guy.
Interesting.
Jack Nicholson auditioned for it and was turned down because the same thing that
Too crazy right
the
off the
the
bat.
yeah, the beef I've had with The Shining, that like there was no transition. They wanted the husband to appear very normal, and Jack was too crazy right off the bat. But then that led to him doing Chinatown
Oh, that's interesting. And
because
the funny thing is he's not like that in Chinatown. Like he comes off fairly straightforward, as opposed to that, you hear that,
well,
Wendy? You
it's
heard
real
about it on
early in his
TV.
Chinatown's real early in his career, right?
No,
Like,
it's 80.
okay, because like he's an easy rider and he's
Yeah, yeah,
not
he's totally
cranked up to 37. He's
marijuana.
Yeah, he's just a normal dude. But that was before, I feel like that was before Jack became
But
Jack.
but you're saying he was turned down for the role in Rosemary's Baby because
Rosemary,
yeah, because he was already kind of, so that's like what year is that? Like
68.
yeah,
Rosemary's Baby was 1968.
so clearly by then he was I mean, I don't know, whatever. Nicholson he's great, but also,
Right.
I mean,
But this thrives on, it starts out, they are a
normal
normal
couple, right?
couple,
Yeah.
and right, and and The Shining is supposed to kind of be that
A
way too.
normal
And you
man's
watch that
descent into
movie,
madness. He's nuts right
you
off the
watch it,
bat.
right,
Or he comes off that way for sure. I mean
right.
that, you hear that, Wendy? He heard about it on the television. Like he
Hmm.
just the look in his eyes, like you already know. But so that was always King's big gripe, or one of them with the
One of
movie.
them.
And clearly, like Kubrick wanted that. That wouldn't be there if he didn't want it. So
Right.
I think what he was going for was more like this person is very unstable. He's trying to get over it, but the hotel
Hmm.
is going to make sure that he does not. It's going to lead him back astray because clearly, I mean, the Jack Torrance in the movie is not in any way a good person. Like
Right.
he's just not. He never was. I don't think he was normal ever. Um, but yeah, I don't know. So
But he
I
auditioned for Rosemary's Baby and they turned him down. But it led to him getting Chinatown later because they were impressed with him.
huh.
He just wasn't normal enough
Right, he wasn't normal. I will
to
say
start out.
it's not Revulsion, it's Repulsion is the movie, the Polanski movie from
Okay.
65. I always see people mention, and I now know I do not want to see it because it sounds like it's not a sex repulsed woman who disapproves of her sister's boyfriend sinks into depression and has horrific visions of rape and violence. Yeah, no, I'll be
No.
skipping that one.
Yeah, that
Be skipping that one. The
no
Tenant is
thanks.
good. The Tenant is
Okay.
weird, and Polanski is the lead in it.
Oh.
It's a weird movie. It's good.
And it
Uh,
ties into Rosemary some way? Because
no, no,
they're
not
like,
at all.
oh,
No, not
okay.
at all. Not at all. Um, but I mean, he's done a bunch of other movies. Um, I don't know. I mean, that's a whole different thing. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. Oh, Ninth Gate's a good movie. I liked Ninth Gate when I
Oh,
saw
I
it. I
like
own
Ninth
it.
Gate.
I haven't
Me
watched it
too.
since I
I
bought it, which
forgot.
would have been 20 years ago.
I forgot that was him.
Yeah, I did
Yeah, I
too.
like the Ninth Gate. All right, so Ninth Gate and Rosemary's Baby. Apparently, we like it when Polanski does Satan.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, that's apartment 7A. And I don't know about you, I'm moving. So apartment
Yeah,
7B is now going to have a for rent sign on it. And until I find a new place where we can record from, this is the Horror Vision. I'm Sean.
I'm Missy.
And stay away from creepy fucking old people that give you 300-year-old medallions and weird medicine for your feet.